Okay, hello, Math 101, Justin Pashara here. Decided to do another short video. I had a few students ask if I could review briefly things with truth tables. So I came up with one example that was I was outside getting some fresh air and that, and doing some yard work in between all the emails and phone calls from all this online instruction. And I thought of a problem. I hurried up, I wrote it down on my driveway. And it turned out to be a good problem to write down because you'll see why at the end. But let's practice. You do have an exam that's going to be coming up that's due on the 16th. It's of course on Blackboard. You do it at home because we're not meeting in person. But here's a good review question. Say we want to look for the truth values of this statement. P and not Q, or not P or Q. So we want to find a truth value in all these different situations when P is true, Q is true, P is true, Q is false, and so on and so forth. So remember, P and Q just stand for any kind of statements we have. P could be something like the grass is green. Q could be something like the grass is wet. So we need to set up the truth table. So of course, we'll start off with, we need a P column, a Q column, we need a not P column, a not Q column. We're going to need a P and not Q column. We're going to need a not P or Q column. And then of course the last column is the whole statement. So that's P and not Q, or not P or Q. So those would be all of your headings, of course. Now there's two statements here, P and Q, so that means we're going to have 4 rows of statements to fill in. If there was a P, Q, and R, it would be 8. So this is going to be true, true, false, false, true, false, by default, of course, right? So not P is going to be the opposite. So if it's true, it's false. So you got false, false, true, true. And the not Q column is going to be false, true, false, true. So again, the negation of those are just easy. It's just the opposite. Up next is this statement here, P and not Q. So let me get a different color chalk. So for P and not Q, you're looking at this column and this column right here, okay? So it's an and statement. So remember, when you're talking about and statements, the only time it can be true is when both of them are true simultaneously. So here we go. We're looking here. We have a true and a false. So that means it's going to be false. You have a true and a true, so it's going to be true. That's the only time that happens. If you have 2 falses, that's false. And you have false and true, so it's going to be false. So again, the only time that and statements are true is when both P and Q, the 2 statements, are true simultaneously. So that takes care of that column. The next column is the not P or Q column. Not P or Q column. So that means we're going to be looking this time right here at not P, and we're going to be looking over here at Q. So it doesn't matter which order we look at them in. What does matter is the operator. The operator here is or. So remember, a statement is true in an or statement as long as one of them are true at the same time. So as long as one of these guys are true, it's going to be true. So in this spot, that's true. In this spot here, that's false because they're both false. You have true, false, so that's going to be true. And then you have false and a true, so that's going to be true. So it only turns out to be one false statement there in this position here. And last but not least, of course, is then the last column, which is the whole statement itself. So we want to look for the truth value, of course, of the whole statement. That's why we do the table. So we're looking at this guy, and this is an or. So as long as one of these is true, then the whole statement's true. So you have false and true, so that's true. True and false, that's true. False and true, that's true. False and true, that's true. So look at that. This is an interesting thing that happens here. We call this a tautology. A tautology is what happens when all of these guys are true in each position. So that's a tautology. And there's your table. Now, one thing I may ask you on your exam, for example, is if I say to you, when P is true and Q is false, what's the truth value of this statement? So we look for where this happens, where P is true and Q is false. That's this row right here. See, P is true, Q is false. Follow it all the way to the end. And whatever's in the last position, that's what the statement is. So of course, this thing is true. Which they all turn out to be true anyway, in this case, because it's a tautology. So hopefully this answers any questions that you may have on this. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Perhaps maybe I'll make another video on this topic as we prepare for the second exam. So until then, hope you stay healthy, well, and safe. And I'll see you when I see you.